Support for Consider This is provided by the University of Nebraska at Omaha College of Communication, Fine Arts, and Media.
From the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Take a look at this, teaching that encourages students to see, feel, taste, hear, and smell their way to a brighter future in the classroom, at home, and in the community. Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, sensory curriculum. Here to talk more about it are Laura Mack-Holmes, Program Director or Principal for Dr. J.P. Lord School, Reverend Chris Jorgensen, pastor at Hanscom Park United Methodist Church, and Robert Mabry, senior principal at BCDM Architects. Thank you all so much for being here and welcome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, Laura, I want to start with you. If you could begin by briefly outlining a standard curriculum.
You know, I think what you're looking for when you say standard curriculum is the kind of curriculum that you get in regular school. You know, reading, writing, mathematics, youngsters who start kindergarten who are pretty typically developed kind of make it through kindergarten and progress through the grades with, you know, with some supports or supports that just make them successful. So that's what I think a standard curriculum is.
Okay, so that student population again. So just
typically developed kids.
Okay, and,
Yeah.
and what happens when you don't fall into that realm?
Well, when you don't fall into the realm of a typically developed person, you've got some difficulties, and I'm just going to speak about the students at J.P. Lord who have physical and cognitive challenges. In a typical school, they just wouldn't have their needs met. They wouldn't have their medical needs met, nor would they have their educational needs met, just because their needs are so much different than what you find in typical schools.
Okay, let's talk about the story behind that name. Dr. J.P. Lord, who is that?
Dr. J.P. Lord, he was an orthopedic surgeon many, many years ago. Actually, this is the 80th anniversary of Dr. J.P. Lord's school. So back in the 30s, he was like I say, an orthopedic surgeon who did surgeries on adults, but he did children as well. And what was interesting about Dr. Lord was after the kids had surgery and they would go home, he would go out in a car and make house calls, you know, making sure that the surgery went well and the kids were progressing. Well, he had a social worker that went out with him, and also a nurse. And as it grew, there became a need. They decided to bring along a teacher. And that was just the beginning of the school, is when they brought the teacher, because these were students or kids who had physical problems, but they were typically developed, good cognitive abilities. So the teacher would come along, and she would give them lessons, and then next week at the wellness check, you know, or the surgery check, she'd pick up the lessons and, you know, see how the youngster was progressing academically. So that was the impetus behind J.P. Lord School, how it initially got started. Then they went to the superintendent at Omaha Public Schools at the time, and they found the old Field Club School on 36th and Hickory had an extra room. So there were about a dozen kids in that extra room, and then there was another room that opened up that they started to bring some physical therapy into. that actually could make braces and really monitor how the bones in the youngsters were doing, you know, after the surgery even better. So that's kind of where it all started, and that was in 1938, and they stayed in that 2-room school at the old Field Club elementary building until they moved on to the Med Center campus in 1959, which was into that state-of-the-art building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so how were you introduced then to all of this? When did you start with them, and how, I don't know, where did your interest to be a part of that come from?
Well, I was a special education teacher, so I've always loved kids that were just a little differently abled. You know, not that I don't love all kids and regular, typically developed kids, but that was just my passion. So, and I was a friend of, and actually a fellow teacher, Mike Dotson, who was the principal before I was. He and I are friends, and we taught together at a school called Jackson School. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, we've always stayed in contact, and so he was the principal. And you know, this is just a sidebar, but my grandmother, she administrated Hattie B. Monroe Home, which is for convalescing students, and particularly during the polio epidemic. So her students from Hattie B. Monroe Home would go down to J.P. Lord to be schooled. That's if they weren't under the iron lungs and, you know, things of that nature. So personally, I always knew about J.P. Lord School and the kinds of kids that it served, just because of the work that my grandmother had done.
Okay, and you say kinds of kids that we serve. Paint a picture for us. Who are these students?
Well, I've got to be honest with you, they're absolutely wonderful. They're extremely expressive. They're happy. They have friends. They make me laugh. They make my heart sing. But our students, our kids, ages 5 to 21, who do have multiple physical handicaps and cognitive challenges.
Okay, how do they find you, Laura? How do these kids find you? How do they learn about you?
They know me. They you know, if they have eyes that work, they recognize me. If kids with visual impairments, they know my voice. They may know my touch. I'll come up. I certainly have little names for them. I've got a little one. Oh goodness, that I just still. You know, you kind of play with their names. You know, you'll say, Millie, Millie, it's me, Millie, Millie, how are you? You know, that type of thing. But just that's how they know. They see me, they can hear me, they can, they know if you know your scent. I mean, we're a sensory curriculum, so those are big things. Think of a baby, think of a youngster, how the sensory inputs is how we know our world. So our students need a little bit stronger sensory input, simply because lots of times they're not able physically to explore their world like someone who is typically developed.
Right,
okay?
right. In broader strokes, the school, how do they learn about the school, the parents, the people who are in their lives? How do they know to check your school out to get their students enrolled there?
Well, I'll tell you, this has been somewhat what I call our great awakening. You know, sometimes there's not a lot of people that really knew about J.P. Lord. In fact, when my friend Mike Dotson was principal, you know, he talked about J.P. Lord at principals meetings, and sometimes people weren't even sure that we were a part of Omaha Public Schools, because we serve such a different population, and what we do looks so much different.
Yeah.
So our great awakening happened is certainly when, you know, we were going to get our new building, and you know, that was talked about in the district. It was going to be something that we were all very, very proud of and passionate about, because it was going to bring our students to the forefront.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that I told Bob when he was visiting, you know, the old J.P. Lord, was I said, I really want our families, our parents, the siblings of our kids to be just as happy going to J.P. Lord for an event as they were going to go, as they would be going to one of, you know, their newer build schools.
Right, so this is a great segue to Bob, the Bob, by the way. So sounds like they are doing wonderful, wonderful things for the students, Bob. Let's back up a little bit. How were you introduced to all of this?
Well, as Laura mentioned, J.P. Lord was sort of a gem hidden on the campus of the University of Nebraska Medical Center. And so the University Medical Center is greatly expanding, lands at a premium, so they really desired the space, the land space that J.P. Lord occupied. So they approached OPS to see if they would be willing to consider a deal where they'd buy out the remaining years on their lease. So Omaha Public Schools actually hired my firm to do a study to see what it would, how large of a building they'd have to build to replace the J.P. Lord facility and what its associated cost would be.
Okay, so we're there. We do have some floor plans, and we want to put those up for our viewers just so you can kind of introduce this whole notion that we're going to be talking about. What do we see in there, Bob?
Well, you know, J.P. Lord, because of the nature of the students, is a one-story school that's completely accessible with all spaces. In their old building, they actually had to enter from two different sides of the building because of limitations on bus parking and delivery of students. So the desire was to have one central door where all the students came in and have by their buses coming into sort of a great hall commons area where they could gather and then be distributed to their classrooms. And since sensory is such a large portion, what we wanted to do is even make all the corridors or the hallways part of the sensory experience. And so with the, you can see right at the very center coming in the door, you're coming right into a sensory zone, and then you split off into two different wings, one wing for the younger students and one wing for the older students.
Okay, all right, so Chris, Bob has his work cut out for him then. So he, next week's, months, all of that to come, he's working hard over there at BCDM, right?
Correct.
Getting all of this together. Tell us about your church.
Yeah, so we're Hanscom Park United Methodist Church. We're a historic, we're the second oldest Methodist church in Omaha. We're 132 years old, even though our current building that's across from J.P. Lord was built in around 1960. And so when I got to Hanscom Park Church, my office about 18 months ago or so overlooked this field that was being developed into this new school. And I kept looking out the window at my office and I thought, you know, we're being called to connect with our community and be a part of our community. So I need to find out more about this J.P. Lord School. So I did a little research and I called up Laura and I said, hey, can we talk? So I went over to the old building and met with Laura, and she was very open to having us support them in any way we can. And we've tried to do that just in response to what their needs are. So not having any agenda when we come in the door, but to say, like, Laura, we know your students have needs and things that you need done, and so we respond to what their needs are.
So let me ask you something, Chris. How has this population that they are serving, this wonderful population, changed your lives at the church for the better?
Well, I think we walk through the world thinking that we are of value if we can be productive and if we can contribute in a sort of traditional way to the economy or to the political world. I think the students at J.P. Lord teach us that we are valuable, period. And that if the church can't be a place that figures that out, then no one can figure that out. And I one time had a teacher at J.P. Lord tell me that he had the view of the kingdom of God when he looked out his window because he saw the church. And I said, oh, no. I have the view of the kingdom of God when I look at J.P. Lord School, because I see the teachers and how they care for the students, and I see the amazing work that Bob did to create this environment that makes these students know that they are loved and they are exquisitely cared for. And so it's really meant a lot to me to be next door to them.
Well, obviously, this place means a lot in what you're doing there to a lot of people, Laura. By the way, that must feel pretty good.
Oh, it does.
To hear that.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but you are bringing in partners all the time. We're going to put a list up for the viewers. You could just take a look at that list and tell us what comes to mind, but you really have become kind of a popular place, right?
Well, we really have, and you know, I'm just going to comment on the Downtown Rotary Club. You know, Dr. J.P. Lord was a member. And the Downtown Rotary Club ultimately provided cab fare for the first students at the J.P. Lord on 36th and Hickory to go back and forth to school. So that is a little history about the Downtown Rotary. Embrace Teachers is wonderful. They're from the King of Kings Church, and they do a lot of things for our staff and conference meals. Of course, Chris's group has come on, her Busy Bees, and some of the other gals. Laura B has been there to provide us with a conference meal as well. Monroe Meyer Institute, they provide our OT and PTs, and we will always be tremendous partners with them. We couldn't do what we do without their expertise. The Med Center, of course, has been an active part always with our students. Omaha Schools Foundation, same. Fabulous support for teachers. Back with the same with Nebraska Health Systems, part of that whole medical piece, and Sherwood Foundation. They're wonderful how they support the Omaha Public Schools. So we're really blessed, but I could go on. We've made partnerships with Beals Middle School now. They're coming down. We've made some partners with UNO with some of the service learning projects. We are partners now with Hanscom Park United Methodist Church, and then we always have been partners with a group from the National Arts Council, Y Arts, and yes, and they're fabulous. They're teaching artists who come in and do just great things, singing and dancing and just making our students happy and engaged and just in a lively, fun way. So
yeah, they're a beautiful enhancement piece wherever they go.
Very much so. So we really are blessed. We've got amazing folks that support us and amazing people who work in our building, every day, just bringing out the best, in our students.
That is wonderful.
It's
okay,
wonderful.
Now, we got to get back to Bob.
Okay.
He's been hard at work. He's been working with the contractors. He's been working with all sorts of people to get this accomplished. And now we want to take a look at the end result, Bob. So we're going to put up an exterior of the building, and just tell us what you're thinking as we're looking at that photo.
Well, as we started this project, since we did a lot of searching, trying to find similar type projects around the country, and couldn't find any new facilities that were built, constructed specifically for the student population of J.P. Lord. So we spent a lot of time in the building just observing, and I think Laura has something in connection with God, because it was actually raining the first day we were there, and we saw them unloading all of the buses in the rain, and so it was very easy to see that they needed the canopies to unload under. So that first shot was the main entry with the canopies, and then this photo that you're looking at now shows some of the textures and some of the symbols, even starting on the outside. It's starting to be places where each pier on that bus drop-off has a different symbol. So it's a way of, again, recognizing where students should go and be, and using their senses.
Wow, very, very cool. And as if that's not enough, now we're going to go inside, right? And so we're going to take a look at some photos. And as we're doing that, Laura, really bring out that whole idea of sensory curriculum as we're looking at these.
Sure, this is our cafetorium, and isn't it? It's just gorgeous. It's just so pleasing to the eye. And people say, oh, it's so bright in here, but it needs to be bright because we are really appealing to our students' visual senses. That even if you've got some low vision, you're still going to get some color recognition. It's just beautiful. That we have the kids eat breakfast and lunch in the cafetorium. You see up with the blue curtains, we have a stage that can open up, and there's a fiberglass door behind there that can actually be a teaching classroom or a training room if we need it to be. But you see the ramp, I think that's on the left-hand side. There's also one on the right-hand side, so 2 wheelchair ramps that we can get the kids on the stage. So that will really help out for graduation. That just, it helps out for the homecoming, king and queen, and just any other presentation that we might have. And we've really used that quite a bit. It's just been wonderful.
Cafetorium, I love
Cafetorium,
it. Cafetorium,
yeah, absolutely, you bet.
And this one?
This is a classroom, and
Wow.
right in the classroom we have, in the purple is Joe Gregory, our art teacher. Yeah.
Okay.
And he is having art. Now he does have his own art room, but every now and then he just wants to revisit, I guess, the art on the cart philosophy way to do things. So he is working there with some students and paraprofessionals. So they're having an art activity. That is our sensory gym.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've got, looks like one of our private duty nurses with the young man in the hammock swing, paraprofessional over with the youngster who's in an alternative position in the bean bag. And also I think, and then I can't quite see what the nurse and the student are doing back by the wall, but something interesting. But I've got to tell you, those cars, those are made by one of our physical therapists. Made by, she goes to a group who puts those together. She fits them with a switch. And our youngsters, so many of them have cerebral palsy and things like that, so their muscles and their tone is either really, really loose or really, really tight. So with this big switch on the steering wheel, that young man who is not necessarily mobile any other way can really be encouraged to bring his hand up to that big switch and touch it, and lo and behold, the car moves forward. And he gets the biggest thrill, and that is just, one of those cause and effect things.
Oh yeah.
But if you can cause an effect that's really great, you're going to move your hand again and again and again.
Very cool.
It's extreme. Oh my goodness! Now this is the vestibule, or where we come into our great entryway, and that is a monitor that we can run announcements if we want. But what we'd like to do is every time we have an event, we take a lot of pictures, and then we run those event pictures, and the kids love to look at themselves. So it just gives another feeling, I think, of importance of, oh, there's me, or my just recognizing friends and the people that they see every day. That's just, that's another part of the entryway.
Okay.
Yeah.
As Laura mentioned, there's a lot of color because a lot of times students on the autism scale, you try to keep it more quiet and calm.
Right.
But with the students at JP Lord, they need to be sort of woke up.
Yeah.
And so that's
okay.
why we need a lot of color and a lot of stimuli.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is one of 2 galleries that we have, and they have actually rainbow lighting in the galleries, but all that artwork was commissioned by Jeffrey Owen Hansen, and we got that, the dollars from our dear friends at Monroe Meyer Institute. They gave us a parting gift, which was wonderful at our groundbreaking, and we used it to purchase the art. And like I say, it's Jeffrey Owen Hansen, and he does amazing things, but he's also a visually impaired artist. This is the artwork that that doesn't, it's not like you're at Jocelyn when you have to kind of stay away. We really encourage the kids to touch and feel it.
Okay.
This is one of the classrooms, and this is one of our teachers, Sarah Manzu. And we have electric outlets that come out of the ceiling. They can retract all the way up, but we kind of have them hanging around, But this is a youngster who it looks like has an automatic or electric feeding pump for a G-tube. That's how he's fed in his tummy. But anyway, at the old building, if a student came in with a pump that wasn't charged, they had to spend a great portion of the day by the wall by the charger. This way, we have electricity following the student anywhere in the classroom that they can go. Okay. So looks like Sarah's using that.
Let's take a look at the final picture here.
Oh my goodness, wonderful. This is a student and a private duty nurse using our track system Hoyers. That's a Hoyer lift that student is in, and she's being lifted up, and she's going to put down on that PT table. So she's either going to get into an alternative position out of her wheelchair, or she can be checked and her briefs changed on that table. See the curtains that are on the right and the left, we draw those closed, so there's privacy. We do have student bathrooms, but we also use the high-low, the PT table we call the high-low table, because with just a press of your foot it goes up or up or down, and just it's so much easier for the people who care for the students.
Yeah, that's amazing. Kudos to all involved.
Oh,
it's really truly getting to know who you're serving and then doing all you can to maximize their
absolutely.
lives, meeting them where they are and going from there. We have just a couple of minutes remaining, Laura, so briefly tell us, we haven't talked much about the parents. How do you involve them?
Oh goodness, our parents are really always involved. You know, we have a good relationship with our parents simply because we talk to them more frequently, simply because the youngsters have doctor's visits, you know, so they'll be in and out, you know, on doctor's visits. They have their IEPs, which is an individual education plan, and we have yearly meetings, and we develop those plans for every student that we have. We always have an open invitation to come and visit. All of our activities all year long, whether it's the holiday program, whether it's you know, what we do at Halloween, we have a picnic every spring that the parents come to. We also have a booster club that is organized by our parents, somewhat like a PTA, but it's always been the booster club.
Yeah.
So parents are encouraged to join, so that gives some folks a little camaraderie. But we just have a lot of things that we love to have the families of the students come.
Great.
And we just literally commune together.
Well, for folks who are wanting to know more, we're talking about something called sensory curriculum today. We want to put a couple websites up for our viewers so that if they want more information, either you know, from Laura's perspective right there at the school, from Bob's at the architectural firm, you know, Chris, if you're wanting to know really how to engage more, you can certainly get a hold of Chris at the church as well. But jplord.ops.org and then bcdm.net. This is truly collaboration at its finest. I just want to congratulate all of you and wish you the best moving forward, especially very, very mindful of those children. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Best wishes. I want to thank the students who are working so hard behind the scenes, of course, all of our viewers for watching. As we close, Exarban Village, as seen through the lens of Corbin Schmidt, a senior here at UNO. We'll see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at netnebraska.org/Consider This. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call UNO Television at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu.
Support for Consider This is provided by the University of Nebraska at Omaha College of Communication, Fine Arts, and Media.